No amount of smiling at a flight of stairs has ever made it turn into a rant.
Hi, how's it going? Welcome to this week's video. My name is Miguel, and today we're tackling one of the more controversial subjects within the disability community, and that is whether it's okay or not okay to call someone with a disability inspirational. The reason this is such a touchy subject is because there's passionate people on both sides of the argument. There are some who believe that it's never okay to use people with disabilities with that end in mind, right? To make someone or yourself feel better about your particular circumstance. And there's people on the other side, people with disabilities who don't seem to mind it as much, or people who do that sort of thing who don't see like that it's such a big deal. I find myself in the middle because for me it depends on three things, or two things actually: the intention and the perception. The clip that you saw at the beginning was of Stella Young giving her TED Talk on inspiration porn. And essentially what that means is societies need to be constantly inspired or motivated. Now, generally that can be a good thing, right? Everyone can use a kick in the butt once in a while, and hey, if you can get yourself up from an Instagram post, then, essentially there's nothing wrong with that. The problem lies with the fact that people with disabilities have started or have been used to get that inspiration. So you would see posts like people in wheelchairs or athletes with prosthetics, and it would say something like, if they can do it, so can you, or what's your excuse? Stuff like that, right? Kind of demeaning the person with the disability. And that's where the problem is, because you kind of take away their humanity and kind of take away from their actual accomplishment. In this instance, I do agree that it's negative and that's not the right thing to do, because you're essentially saying that having the disability would be the worst case scenario. You're saying, for example, let's say, that having wavy hair would be a bad thing, right? So you could be like, well, your hair might not be as like straight as it could be, but at least it's not as bad as that guy's. Can you imagine what it would be like to actually be that guy with that type of wavy hair or whatever it may be, and you would be like, oh crap, I'm the lowest of the low then. Is that what that means? The media also plays a very important part on how a person with a disability is often portrayed, because more often than not, the headlines that you see are of people with disabilities reaching their goals, or beating all odds to reach a certain dream, or a company may use them to kind of build themselves up. And as a person with a disability, we have this spidey sense towards pity. We can smell it a mile away. So usually how I can tell that the company or article is not being genuine is that they're not really focused on the person themselves. They're just focused on how the organization is helping to improve their lives. They're not really going into detail about the person's story or the hard work that they actually had to put day in and day out to actually merit the award or recognition they are receiving. Stella makes a really good point in her video, because she says that the reason that it's become so easy for the media to take this path is because you don't really see people with disabilities in everyday life. They're not anybody's teachers per se, or like just everyday professionals, right? So the only exposure that somebody may get to a person with a disability is through these outlets, and that's what kind of adds to the negative stereotype. I've had experiences with both the negative side and the positive side of being called an inspiration. So in the negative side, I was just dancing one night. My friends and I went to a salsa night, right? And we were just minding our own business, tearing up the dance floor as usual. And I just kept seeing like this woman from afar. She would not stop staring at me, and it wasn't in a good way where she was just flat out. She wouldn't even blink, I think, because I would try to ignore it, but then I would turn around and she would still be staring at me with the exact same expression. And I kind of tried to ignore it the best I could and just kept on dancing. But eventually one of my friends and I were still grooving, and the lady actually came over to my friend and she whispered something to her. And then I asked my friend what she said, and it was essentially how it made her feel really good to see us dancing. And I was like, well, could it be because I have a disability? And it just kind of made me feel awkward because it's like I'm just trying to enjoy myself like everybody else. I'm not doing anything out of the ordinary. I'm not rescuing a cat from a tree or something for people or for, to merit the attention. It's like if whenever my roommate tied a shoe, I would like gave him an applause and I would be like, wow, you tied that so well. On the flip side, I do think that people really do feel inspired, or you might prompt something in them to feel inspired. And there's not anything wrong with that necessarily. It's just all in their intention and how you perceive it, right? So for example, one day I was at the gym just minding my own business, trying to figure out how to work out. And this person out of nowhere just came up to me and said how much he appreciated essentially that I was like trying to put in the work and how that motivated him to try harder. Now, I could have gotten offended, but I chose not to. One, because I could tell that he was being genuine, and two, because at the setting, like we were at the gym, so I kind of figured that he was trying to better himself. So I can't fault him for that. If somebody comes up to you kindly and says things like that, you don't know if that person is going through like some mental health problems or like has some depression, right? So maybe seeing you kind of gave them that spark. That's why it's important not to automatically just flip out or be like, how dare you? How dare you call me inspirational? But that's my 2 cents on this subject. Let me know if you've had any experiences on this particular matter, because I know everyone is different and it's controversial. So I'd love to hear what you think. Before you leave, here are the 2 main takeaways from this video. 1, if you are an abled person, just be aware if you're gonna bring it up to somebody with a disability, just be aware of how you bring it up and really put yourself in their shoes, right? How would you feel if you were them? If you're a person with a disability and somebody does bring it up to you, calls you an inspiration, don't get fired up right away. Just be considerate of how the other person might be feeling or what they might be going through, right? And always try to take it in the positive side unless they really offend you, in which case talk to them and explain why that's not okay. Second, like Stella says, there aren't many opportunities to interact with people with disabilities often. So lose the fear and step up to the plate. Be that teacher, be that professional, be that mentor, so that people can start incorporating people with disabilities into society more and stop basing their opinion solely on what they see in the media. Thank you for watching, I appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a big like and to share it with someone who will enjoy it or might benefit from hearing this message. Like always, I hope you have a great rest of your day, or rest of your week, and I'll see you on the next one.